Alors, bonjour à tous. Bienvenue au Théâtre National de la Presse. Today we have James Bezan, Member of Parliament for Selkirk Interlake, who's going to talk about artificial tanning and cancer risks. I understand we also have on the line Dr. Cheryl Rosen, National Director of the Canadian Dermatology Association Sun Awareness Program. Both will make statements, and then we will take questions from the room and questions on the line if there is. Mr. Bezan?
Thank you, and good morning. And as pointed out, Dr. Cheryl Rosen is going to be joining us and be making a brief statement after I make my opening comments. My office appreciates the support that we've received from the Canadian Dermatology Association for this idea, an idea that I first brought to their attention last June. Now, the Canadian Cancer Society has also provided their support, but unfortunately is unable to join us here today. But they do have a media representative available for comments after the press conference. As we recognize World Cancer Day today, too many Canadians remain unaware of the cancer-causing effects of tanning beds and indoor tanning equipment. Tanning is a growing trend in Canada, and more Canadians are using tanning beds to get that perfect glow. This trend is particularly strong among our young people, with the majority of users being young women between the ages of 16 and 29 years old. Despite this trend, scientists and health experts around the world are warning that UV rays from indoor tanning have some very negative effects. In a recent study, the World Health Organization elevated tanning devices to their highest risk category, a category which includes other carcinogenic agents like mustard gas and cigarettes. They say that users increase their risk of cancer by 75% if tanning begins before age 30. For our youth and the thousands of Canadians who use tanning salons regularly, these are very disturbing statistics. They are disturbing because many Canadians remain unaware of these risks due to outdated labeling rules which do not communicate them to everyday consumers. Rules which do not say that tanning beds cause cancer and do not say that our youth should not be using tanning equipment. With this in mind, I'll be introducing legislation promoting new labeling requirements on radiation-emitting tanning beds to educate and protect Canadians from this hidden health risk. This bill will require larger radiation warning labels on tanning beds placed in areas on the bed where they can be clearly seen by consumers. The bill will these labels will draw a clear link between tanning beds and their cancer-causing effects and recommend that all persons under the age of 18 years avoid using tanning beds. It is clear that there is a need for tougher labeling. According to the Canadian Cancer Society, in a recent study, 80% of salons in the GTA area did not have radiation warning labels. That should be clearly seen by users. This is a problem right across the country and is fueled by labeling rules that require incomplete, inaccurate labels that cannot be seen by consumers. This bill will change that and is consistent with recommendations by the Canadian Cancer Society, Canadian Dermatologists Association, and the World Health Organization. It is an essential first step to combating this hidden health risk. To conclude, I should say that the inspiration for this bill came from a very skin cancer. Over the past several years, my wife has been diagnosed twice with malignant melanoma. A fair-skinned sun worshiper, during her teens and in her 20s, the cumulative UV exposure eventually caught up with her. In the summer, she tanned outside, and during the winter, she was in the tanning beds. Luckily, she survived her bouts with skin cancer, but I know very well the devastating strain that it can place on a family. With 3 teenage daughters of my own, I know how important it is to encourage young Canadians to avoid the negative impacts of early tanning and artificial tanning. This initiative will be a first step to achieving that goal. Again, I'd like to thank the Canadian Dermatology Association and the Canadian Cancer Society for their support of this initiative. Now I'll turn the floor over for comments from Dr. Cheryl Rosen, and then we'll take questions from the floor. Thank you.
Dr. Rosen?
Good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me to take part in this conference. The Canadian Dermatology Association is focused on public education to prevent skin cancer, the most common of all cancers. Exposure to ultraviolet radiation is the main preventable cause of skin cancer, and for this reason, we focus on protection from sun exposure and other sources of ultraviolet radiation. Indoor tanning which is particularly popular among young people, as previously mentioned, radiation. Indoor tanning is associated with an increased risk of melanoma, particularly if the exposure begins earlier in life. Importantly, melanoma is the third most common form of cancer among young women. Since 2005, the World Health Organization has called on a ban on the use of indoor tanning equipment by youth under 18 because of its impact on the development of skin cancer. Public awareness of the dangers of exposure to ultraviolet radiation is critical. Mr. Bezan's private member's bill for improved warning labels on tanning beds is certainly a move in the right direction, and we definitely support this bill. We will continue to work towards banning the use of indoor tanning for all those 18 years of age and younger. On Monday, February 1st, earlier this week, the Canadian Dermatology Association launched a national campaign called Indoor Tanning is Out. More details about this campaign and links to YouTube videos can be found on the CDA website, www.dermatology.ca.